The Galactic Council chambers had never been so tense. After 3 days of heated debate, the moment of decision had arrived. The issue before them was simple yet profound. Accept the Alliance's terms or face an uncertain future. High Counselor Krithna stood before the assembled representatives. We have reviewed the Alliance's proposal. We have debated its merits and drawbacks. Now we must vote. In orbit above the Council world, the Alliance fleet waited. Admiral Nicol Harris and Ambassador Frank Morgan watched from the bridge of the UES Independence. Do you think they'll accept? Nicol asked. Frank looked at the planet below. They don't have much choice. Their economy is in shambles. Half their protectorate species have already joined us. The others are watching closely. And if they refuse, then we continue on our path, Frank said simply. The Alliance grows stronger every day. Eventually, they'll have to accept the new reality. Back in the Council chamber, Zextal made one final plea. These terms would destroy everything we've built. The Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Now we're expected to treat these upstarts as equals. Krithna's voice was tired but firm. The alternative is worst, Counselor. Our analysts predict economic collapse within 5 years if we continue on our current path. The humans and their allies have resources we need, technologies we don't have, and a growing sphere of influence. All because we underestimated one primitive species, another counselor said bitterly. Yes, Krithna agreed. That was our fundamental error. We saw the humans as primitive because their technology was less advanced. We failed to see their potential, their adaptability, their determination. The vote was conducted in silence. One by one, counselors registered their decision. When it was complete, Krithna announced the result. By a vote of 19-8, the Council accepts the Alliance's terms. On New Terra, the primary world of the Alliance, news of the Council's decision was met with celebration. Jack Nelson, now an old man with white hair, watched the announcement from his home overlooking the capital city. His granddaughter, Emma, sat beside him. Did you know it would end this way, Grandpa? She asked. When you first met the aliens? Jack shook his head. Not exactly. We hoped to join the galactic community as equals. When that failed, we had to find another way. By walking away, Emma said. Yes, sometimes the strongest statement you can make is to simply leave. Jack looked out at the city below, where humans and their alien allies lived and worked together. But we didn't just walk away. We built something better. On the Council world, Frank Morgan and Nicol Harris met with Krithna to finalize the agreement. Guards from both sides stood at attention as the documents were signed. There is one thing I still don't understand, Krithna said as they concluded. You could have fought us. Your ships, your weapons, you could have forced your terms upon us years ago. Why didn't you? Frank smiled. That would have made us no better than the Council was. We didn't want to rule over others. We wanted to create a community of equals. And to think, Krithna said, all of this began because we wouldn't treat you as equals in the first place. Nicol nodded. History is full of ironies. 10 years ago, your council saw humans as primitives barely worth noticing. Now the entire galaxy has been transformed because of us. A lesson we won't forget, Krithna promised. As Frank and Nicol returned to their ship, they looked back at the Council world. For centuries, it had been the center of power in the galaxy. Now it was just one of many important worlds in a new, more balanced order. Mission accomplished? Nicol asked. Frank nodded. Phase 3 complete. A new era begins. As the Alliance ships prepared to depart, a message was sent throughout both Council and Alliance space. It was simple but profound. Today marks the beginning of the Galactic Accord. All species stand as equals. The age of protectorates and subjugation is over. Together, we move forward into a brighter future. The galaxy had indeed frozen when humanity walked away from diplomacy, but in that frozen moment, everything had changed forever. 3 years had passed since humanity vanished from Earth. In that time, The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Admiral Nicol Harris stood on the observation deck of the UES Independence, the most advanced warship ever built by human hands. Through the massive viewport, she watched as ships from 5 different species moved in perfect formation with the human fleet. What had begun as an exodus had become something much more powerful. "Admiral, the Council representatives have arrived," said her aide, Lieutenant Paul Weber. Nicol nodded. "Bring them here. I want them to see this." Minutes later, 5 beings entered the observation deck. Each represented a species that had once been a Council protectorate: the Vex, the Narani, the Shoal, the Trill, and the Orin. Together with humanity, they had formed the Free Systems Alliance. "Impressive," said Killa, the Vex ambassador, her feathers rippling with approval as she looked out at the combined fleet. "This is just one battle group," Nicol told them. "We have 5 more of equal size." The ambassadors exchanged glances. The message was clear. The Alliance was now a major power. "The Council's spies have finally located our space," Nicol continued. "They've been watching us for 2 months, thinking we don't know they're there." "What will they do?" asked Marin, the Narani ambassador. "They've called an emergency session," said Nicol. "Today they will decide whether to recognize the Alliance or try to bring us back under their control." She smiled slightly. "I don't think they'll like either option." On the Galactic Council's central world, chaos reigned. The Council chamber, normally a place of order and procedure, had devolved into shouting and accusations. "This is your fault, Zextal," cried one counselor. "You dismissed the humans as primitive, and now they've created an alliance that threatens our very existence." Zextal, once the High Counselor, had been reduced to a regular member. His influence had crumbled along with the Council's economy. "We should send the entire fleet," said another counselor. "Crush this rebellion before it grows stronger." Counselor Krithna, who had replaced Zextal as High Counselor, raised his hands for silence. "I have seen the reports on the Alliance's technology. Their ships outclass ours. Their weapons systems are more advanced. And they have something we don't have: unity of purpose." "What are you suggesting?" asked Zextal with narrowed eyes. "I am suggesting that we cannot win a war against them," Krithna said calmly. "Our intelligence indicates they now control over 200 star systems. Their economy is growing while ours declines. The remaining protectorate species watch us closely, waiting to see if the Alliance succeeds. So we surrender." Zextal spat the word. "We negotiate," corrected Krithna. "Today, a human diplomatic envoy arrives. Frank Morgan, their new ambassador. We will hear what he has to say." Frank Morgan had never expected to become an ambassador. Before the Exodus, he had been a history teacher. Now he stood before the Galactic Council, representing not just humanity, but the entire Free Systems Alliance. "The Alliance thanks the Council for this audience," Frank began. "We come with an offer of peace and cooperation." "Peace," Zextal interrupted. "After you stole our protectorate species, after you disrupted the galactic order." Frank smiled calmly. "We freed them, Counselor, just as we freed ourselves. And now we offer freedom to the Council as well." "What do you mean?" asked Krithna. "The old order is unsustainable," Frank explained. "A system where some species rule and others serve eventually collapses. The Alliance proposes a new relationship, one of equals." Frank activated a holographic display showing the Alliance's proposal: equal status for all species, free movement between Alliance and Council space, fair trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. The counselors murmured among themselves. These were radical changes. "And if we refuse?" asked Zextal. Frank's expression didn't change. "Then we continue to build our alliance elsewhere. More of your protectorate species will join us. Your economy will continue to decline. And eventually, the Council will become irrelevant." The chamber fell silent. It wasn't a threat. It was simply the truth. High Counselor Krithna studied the human carefully. You've changed the galaxy forever, you know. Frank nodded. That was always the plan. 2 weeks after humanity began its exodus, the Galactic Council faced an unprecedented crisis. Zextal stood before the full council, his once confident demeanor now shaken. The human evacuation is complete, he reported. Earth is empty. Murmurs filled the chamber. An empty planet was unheard of in galactic history. What about their resources, their infrastructure? Asked one counselor. Gone, said Zextal. They took everything of value. What they couldn't take, they destroyed. The mining operations we established have found nothing but empty pits. The cities are hollow shells. They even removed their satellites and space stations. Counselor Krithna stepped forward. And we still have no idea where they went. None. Our best tracking systems lost them as soon as they activated those jump drives. Technology we didn't even know they had. Zextal's voice held a note of disbelief. This is more serious than one species leaving council space, said Krithna. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Trade routes dependent on human goods have collapsed. 17 council worlds relied on Earth for food exports. 5 more needed their medical supplies. The economic impact is already severe. Another counselor spoke up. We've also lost contact with our outposts near the fringe worlds. And there are rumors that other protectorate species are becoming restless. Zextal's eyes narrowed. What kind of rumors? Questions about human technology. About how a primitive species advanced so quickly without our knowledge. About whether other species could do the same. On the far side of the galaxy, Ryan Bennett moved silently through the shadows of an alien city. As a human-covered operative, he had been left behind specifically for this mission. He approached a nondescript building and entered a code on the hidden panel. The door slid open. Inside, representatives from 3 different protectorate species waited anxiously. They were the Vex, the Narani, and the Shoal, all species that had been under council control for centuries. Is it true? Asked the Vex representative, her feathered crest quivering with excitement. Did your people really escape? Ryan nodded. The evacuation is complete. Earth is empty. And you can help us do the same. Asked the Narani, his 4 eyes blinking nervously. That's why I'm here. Ryan placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic map of star systems far beyond council space. These are the coordinates for New Alliance territory. We have ships waiting to help your people evacuate, just as we did. The council will try to stop us, said the Shoal representative, his scaled skin shifting colors with anxiety. Ryan smiled. They tried to stop us too. They failed. 3 days later, the council received alarming news. The Vex homeworld was reporting a mass exodus similar to Earth's. Before the council could respond, reports came in about the Narani and the Shoal doing the same. Counselor Krithna confronted Zextal privately after the emergency session. You see what's happening, don't you? The humans aren't just leaving. They're helping others leave too. They're creating an alliance. That's absurd, Zextal said, but his voice lacked conviction. These are primitive species. They can't possibly. Open your eyes. Krithna interrupted. We severely underestimated the humans. Their compliance was a mask. While we thought they were accepting our rule, they were studying us, finding our weaknesses, and developing technologies we thought impossible. Zextal was silent for a long moment. Even if that's true, what can they do? They're gone. Good riddance. Are they? Krithna asked quietly. Reports from our deep space monitoring stations suggest there's significant activity in the uncharted regions. And now our own protectorate species are vanishing. He leaned closer. What if this is just the beginning? What if the humans are building something out there? Something that could challenge the council itself? Zextal had no answer. For the first time in his long life, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Far beyond council space, on a world the aliens had never seen, Jack Nelson stood on a balcony overlooking a gleaming new human city. The night sky above was filled with stars, and with ships bringing more humans and their new allies to freedom. "We did it," he said softly. "We actually did it." Behind him, President Carter nodded. "Phase 1 is complete. Now we begin Phase 2. The day after humanity's withdrawal from the Council, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. Thousands of advanced human ships suddenly appeared across Earth's solar system. These weren't the primitive vessels the Council had seen before. These ships were sleek, powerful, and unlike any human technology the aliens had observed. Captain Ethan Powell stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the flagship of humanity's Exodus fleet. Through the view screen, he watched as smaller ships began the evacuation process. Massive transports descended to Earth's surface, landing in designated zones on every continent. "Status report," Ethan ordered. His second-in-command, Susan Kelly, checked her display. "Phase 1 evacuation is proceeding on schedule, Captain. The first 1 billion people will be aboard within 12 hours. Any response from the Council yet?" Susan shook her head. "Nothing official, but we're detecting increased activity at their observation posts. They're definitely watching us." "Let them watch," Ethan said with a slight smile. On the Galactic Council's central world, emergency alarms blared through the Council chamber. Zextal rushed in to find the other councilors already gathered around a large display showing Earth's solar system. "What is happening?" he demanded. Councilor Krithna turned to him, eyes wide. "The humans. They're leaving." "Leaving? What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said. They are evacuating their planet. And those ships," Krithna pointed to the display, "those are not primitive vessels. Our sensors indicate technology far beyond what humans should possess. Some of it is beyond our own capabilities." Zextal stared at the images in disbelief. "Impossible. Where did they get such technology?" "They built it," Krithna said simply. "In secret, while pretending to be the compliant protectorate species we expected." Another counselor spoke up. "We're detecting massive energy signatures throughout their system. They appear to be dismantling their infrastructure as they evacuate." "Stop them," Zextal ordered. "Send the fleet. They cannot be allowed to leave." Back on Earth, Julie Harrison activated the final terraforming systems on New Terra, the 7th and largest of humanity's secret colony worlds. She stood on a hillside, watching as the automated systems transformed the atmosphere to make it perfectly hospitable for human life. Her communicator chimed. "Harrison here. Julie, this is Control. The first evacuation ships will reach your location in 6 hours. Are you ready to receive them?" "Affirmative. New Terra is green across the board. We can support the full planned population." She looked out over the valley where a city was already half built. They'll have homes waiting for them. In orbit around Mars, Lisa Blackwood monitored the Blackwood drive systems as the massive evacuation ships prepared for their first jumps. "All drives functioning at optimal levels," she reported to Colonel Rivera. "We're ready for mass transit." Colonel Rivera nodded. "Begin jump sequence for the first wave. Next stop, New Terra." Lisa pressed the activation control. In an instant, 50 enormous ships carrying millions of humans simply vanished from the solar system. No flash, no sound, just gone, beyond the reach of the Galactic Council. The Council's response came quickly. A fleet of warships arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, weapons ready. "Attention human vessels," came the transmission. "By order of the Galactic Council, you are forbidden to leave this system. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Captain Powell received the message on the Defiance. He exchanged glances with Susan Kelly. "Should we respond, Captain?" she asked. "Yes. Open a channel." Ethan straightened his uniform. When the alien commander appeared on screen, he spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Captain Ethan Powell of the United Earth Ship Defiance. Your orders are acknowledged but will not be obeyed. Humanity is leaving. Any attempt to stop us will be met with force." The alien commander sneered. You have no choice, human. Our ships outnumber yours. Our weapons outclass yours. Stand down or be destroyed. Ethan's expression didn't change. You're mistaken on both counts. Observe. He nodded to Susan, who pressed a button on her console. Throughout the solar system, thousands more human ships suddenly decloaked, revealing an armada that dwarfed the Council fleet. Last warning, Ethan said. Stand aside. The Council commander stared in shock. Before he could respond, the human ships activated their Blackwood drives and vanished right through the Council blockade. The Exodus had begun. 10 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. The relationship had grown increasingly tense with each passing year. Now, it was about to reach its breaking point. Dr. Greg Davidson sat in his lab at the United Medical Center, staring at his computer screen with growing horror. As head of Earth's medical division, he had access to all communications between Earth and the Council. What he found made his blood run cold. He picked up his secure phone and dialed a number only 5 people on Earth knew. This is Davidson. I need an emergency meeting with the President. Now. 2 hours later, Greg stood before President Carter and the Exodus Command, showing them what he had discovered. These are encrypted messages between the Council's Science Division and their mining operations here on Earth, he explained. They're not just taking our minerals. They want our genetic material, specifically human DNA. For what purpose? Asked Karen Winters. Greg's face was grim. Experimentation. They believe human adaptability is unique. They want to study it and potentially incorporate it into their own species. Colonel Rivera slammed his fist on the table. Without our knowledge or consent. Worse, Greg continued. The mining operations are a cover. They've been collecting human tissue samples for months, and they're planning to expand. They want access to our entire genetic database and permission to take samples from 10,000 humans. The room fell silent. President Carter stood slowly, her expression stone cold. Then we've reached the point of no return. She turned to Colonel Rivera. Status report. Project Exodus is fully operational, he replied. The fleet is ready. Colony worlds are prepared. Evacuation protocols have been tested and confirmed. We can begin at your word. The President nodded. And Operation Liberation. Director Mitchell stepped forward. Our contacts with other protectorate species are secure. They're ready to move when we do. Very well. The President's voice was steady but firm. I'm calling for a vote of the United Government. The question before us is simple. Do we continue to endure under Council rule or do we walk away? The vote took less than an hour. It was unanimous. The next day, Karen Winters appeared before the Galactic Council for what would be humanity's final address. She stood tall before the assembled aliens, her voice clear and unwavering. Honorable Council, for 10 years, humanity has attempted to work within your system. We have followed your rules. We have contributed our resources. We have accepted a second-class position in galactic society. Zextal looked bored. Is there a point to this speech, Representative Winters? Karen continued as if he hadn't spoken. During this time, we have observed how the Council treats protectorate species. We have seen the systematic exploitation. We have discovered your plans to experiment on our people without consent. Murmurs spread through the Council chamber. Councillor Krithna leaned forward, eyes narrowed. In light of these discoveries, Earth has made a decision, Karen announced. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all agreements with the Galactic Council. We will no longer recognize Council authority over Earth or human interests. Laughter erupted from several Council members. Zextal actually smiled. And where will you go, Representative Winters? Who will protect your primitive world? How will you trade without Council approval? How will you travel without our technology? Karen's expression remained calm. That is no longer your concern, High Counselor. Zextal's smile faded. This is foolishness. No species can survive without Council protection. You will reconsider this decision within a month when reality sets in. We will not, Karen said simply. Humanity is walking away. This will be our final appearance before the Council. As laughter and dismissive comments filled the chamber, Karen turned and walked toward the exit. Council security didn't even bother to follow her. No one took the human threat seriously. Just before reaching the door, Karen touched the small communicator hidden in her ear. "It's time," she whispered. Across the galaxy, on 27 different worlds, human representatives simultaneously stood up and walked out of every diplomatic post, embassy, and trade office. None said a word. They simply left. The galaxy was about to discover just how serious humanity was. 7 years after first contact, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Karen Winters sat with the human delegation, keeping her face carefully neutral as Zextal made the announcement. Due to increased security needs across Council space, we are implementing a resource contribution program for all protectorate species, Zextal declared. Earth will provide 20% of its mineral production, effective immediately. Karen raised her hand politely. High Counselor, this would place a heavy burden on our economy. Could we discuss alternatives? Zextal's expression hardened. This is not a negotiation, Representative Winters. The Council has decided. I understand, Karen said, lowering her eyes submissively. I will inform my government. Later that day, Karen stood before Earth's united government. The room was silent as she delivered the news. So they want tribute now, said General Franklin, his face red with anger. They call it a protection fee, Karen replied. But yes, essentially, it's tribute. President Carter leaned forward. Did they say what would happen if we refuse? They made it clear that Council protection could be reconsidered. The room erupted in angry shouts. President Carter raised her hand for silence. What about the other protectorate species? Are they facing similar demands? Director Sam Mitchell of Earth Intelligence stepped forward. Yes, Madam President. Some have been paying such tributes for centuries. In fact, our agents have discovered that the Council has been systematically exploiting protectorate worlds for resources while deliberately slowing their technological advancement. The President's face darkened. So this was always the plan. Keep us dependent. Take our resources. Ensure we never become equals. It appears so, Sam replied. We've identified 17 species currently in this situation. Some have been protectorates for over 1,000 years. President Carter stood up. Then it's time to accelerate our plans. Where do we stand on Project Exodus? Colonel Rivera pulled up a holographic display. The fleet is 70% complete. The colony worlds are ready for full habitation. The evacuation ships can transport our entire population in 3 months if necessary. And the jump drive. Installed in all ships and fully operational, Lisa Blackwood reported. We can reach any of our new worlds in less than a day. The President nodded. Good. Director Mitchell, what about your special project? Sam smiled slightly. Operation Liberation is ready. We've made contact with representatives from 12 other protectorate species. They're eager for an alternative to Council rule. 2 weeks later, alien mining ships arrived in Earth's solar system. They landed without permission and began setting up operations in Australia, Canada, and Russia. Karen Winters led a delegation to protest to the Council. They waited 3 days before being granted a 5-minute audience. These mining operations were not agreed upon, Karen stated. They're disrupting local communities and damaging ecosystems. Councillor Zextal barely looked up from his display. The mining is necessary for galactic security. Your concerns are noted but overruled. We request the immediate removal of these operations until proper agreements can be reached, Karen insisted. Zextal finally looked directly at her. Representative Winters, perhaps I haven't been clear. Earth does not have the authority to make such requests. The Council decides what is best for protectorate worlds. I see, Karen said quietly. Then I must report this to my government. Do so, Zextal said dismissively. Remind them that council protection is a privilege that can be withdrawn. As Karen left the chamber, she passed Counselor Krithna, who studied her carefully. The humans are too calm about this, Krithna said to his aide. Something isn't right. Back on Earth, President Carter received Karen's report. She called an immediate meeting of the Exodus Command. How soon can we be ready? She asked. The final ships will be completed in 3 months, Colonel Rivera reported. Make it 1 month, the president ordered. I want full evacuation readiness. What happened? Lisa Blackwood asked. The president's eyes were cold. They've threatened to withdraw protection if we don't comply with their demands. They're using the same playbook they've used on other worlds for thousands of years. She looked around the room at humanity's leaders. The time for playing along is over. We're moving to Phase 3. 5 years had passed since first contact. To the watching galaxy, humanity seemed to have accepted its place. Human representatives attended Galactic Council meetings, sitting quietly in the observer section. They nodded politely, asked few questions, and appeared grateful for the small technological gifts the Council occasionally handed down. But appearances can be deceiving. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Lisa Blackwood worked in a laboratory that officially didn't exist. Sweat dripped from her forehead as she made tiny adjustments to the device in front of her. The quantum jump drive prototype hummed with energy. Ready for the test? Asked her assistant, Ben Lopes. Lisa nodded. Start the recording. If this works, today will change everything. Ben activated the sensors while Lisa initiated the sequence. The small drone equipped with the drive sat on a platform in the sealed chamber. Lisa held her breath as she pressed the final button. The drone vanished. No flash, no sound, just gone. Did it work? Ben whispered. Lisa checked her screens. A slow smile spread across her face. The drone reached Alpha Centauri in under 3 minutes. That's 50 times faster than the Council's best ships. Ben's eyes widened. We did it. We actually did it. Lisa put a finger to her lips. Remember, this never happened. Project Exodus depends on absolute secrecy. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Colonel Alan Rivera walked through the underground levels of the Pentagon. He used 3 different security checks before entering a room marked simply Strategic Planning. Inside, 50 of Earth's top military minds worked at computer stations. Massive screens showed the locations of all known alien outposts and patrol routes. Status report. Alan said to his deputy, Major Diane Foster. All on schedule, sir. The shipyards on Uraba have completed the first 20 vessels. The lunar base has doubled production of the new shield generators. And our agents have successfully mapped 90% of Council space without detection. Alan nodded. And our public face. Exactly as planned. Our official military remains visibly outdated. The Council's observers report that we're advancing at the expected rate for a protectorate species. Good. Very good. Ellen looked at the largest screen, which showed a map of stars beyond Council space. Several were highlighted in green. Have the colonization teams reached the target worlds? Yes, sir. Initial terraforming has begun on all 7 planets. They're all well outside Council scanning range. On the Galactic Council's central world, Counselor Krithna of the Moraxian Empire watched the human delegation with suspicion. The humans sat quietly during the session, taking notes as the Council debated trade routes. When the meeting ended, Krithna approached Zextal. Have you noticed anything unusual about the humans lately? Zextal made a dismissive gesture. They are as primitive as ever. Why? They are too quiet, too accepting. It troubles me. You worry too much, Krithna. Their planet is under constant observation. Their technology advances at the expected pace. They are behaving exactly as a new protectorate should. Perhaps, said Krithna. Still, I recommend increasing surveillance. If it will ease your mind, Zextal said with a bored tone. though I think it's a waste of resources. Back on Earth, Karen Winters, the lead human diplomat, returned from the council meeting and went directly to the president's secure office. They suspect nothing, she reported to President Carter. Councillor Krithna has some concerns, but Zextal dismissed them. Good, said the president. How much longer does your team need? Another year, perhaps 2. The council's arrogance works in our favor. They're so convinced of their superiority that they see what they expect to see. The president nodded and looked at the holographic display, showing the status of Project Exodus. Thousands of green dots representing completed objectives glowed against the dark background. Lisa Blackwood sent word. The jump drive works. Karen's eyes widened. So we can really do this? Yes, said the president. When the time comes, humanity will vanish right under their noses. She smiled grimly. And then they'll learn that underestimating humans was the biggest mistake the galaxy ever made. The massive alien ship hung over New York City like a dark cloud. It had appeared 3 days ago, and the world held its breath. This was humanity's first contact with aliens, and no one knew what to expect. Commander Jack Nelson adjusted his uniform as he waited in the meeting room aboard the UES Pathfinder. As the leader of Earth's diplomatic team, he felt the weight of 7 billion lives on his shoulders. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. They're docking now, sir, said Linda Wright, his communications officer. Jack nodded. Remember, everyone, we represent all of humanity today. Let's make a good impression. The door slid open with a hiss. 3 aliens walked in. They had blue-gray skin and stood nearly 7 feet tall. Their eyes were large and black, and they moved with fluid grace. The alien in front wore an ornate robe with symbols that seemed to glow. I am High Counselor Zextal of the Galactic Council. We welcome Earth to the interstellar community. Jack stepped forward with a smile. Thank you, High Counselor. I am Commander Jack Nelson of the United Earth Government. We are honored to meet you and hope for peaceful relations between our peoples. Zextal's face showed no emotion. We have observed your planet for some time. Your technology is primitive, but you have potential. Jack's smile faltered slightly. We have gifts to share with the Council as a show of friendship. He motioned to his team, who brought forward boxes containing Earth's finest art, music recordings, and examples of human science. The aliens barely looked at the offerings. How quaint, said one of Zextal's companions. Zextal waved a long-fingered hand. You should know that the Galactic Council consists of 27 advanced species. We govern all known space. We look forward to learning from you all, Jack said politely. Indeed. After reviewing your civilization, we have assigned Earth Protectorate status, Zextal announced. Jack frowned. Protectorate? What does that mean exactly? It means we will protect your world from outside threats while you develop. You will have access to some of our technology and knowledge, but no voting rights in council matters. I see, Jack said slowly. And how long does this protectorate status last? Until you prove yourselves worthy of full membership, perhaps 200 of your Earth years. The human delegation exchanged troubled glances. Linda whispered, 200 years. Jack cleared his throat. High Counselor, while we appreciate your offer of protection, Earth would prefer to join as an equal member. We have much to contribute. Zextal made a sound that might have been a laugh. Equal? Your species has barely left your own planet. You still use fossil fuels. Your medicine is primitive. You cannot even travel faster than light without our help. Nevertheless, Jack began. The decision is made. Zextal interrupted. The Council has spoken. You should be grateful. Many species wait millennia for such an opportunity. 3 hours later, the meeting was over. Jack had tried every diplomatic approach he knew, but the aliens wouldn't budge. Earth was a protectorate, not an equal. Humans would be allowed to attend council meetings but not vote. They could trade, but only through council-approved channels. They could travel to other worlds, but only with council permission. Back on Earth, Jack delivered the news to the United Government in a private session. "So they see us as children," said President Olivia Carter, her face grim. "Essentially, yes," Jack replied. "They're not hostile, but they are condescending." General Peter Franklin slammed his fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We should show them what humans are capable of." President Carter raised her hand for silence. "No, we will not respond with anger or threats. That's exactly what they expect from a primitive species." "What will we do then?" asked Jack. The president looked around the room at Earth's leaders. Her eyes showed not defeat, but determination. "For now, we play along. We learn everything we can about them. Their technology, their weaknesses, their politics, and meanwhile, we advance on our own terms, in our own way." "And then?" Jack asked. President Carter's voice was quiet but firm. "And then we show the galaxy exactly who humanity is." No one in that room knew it then, but that meeting marked the beginning of humanity's most daring plan. The galaxy would never be the same again.